Alright, the mic is on now. We are. Gosh, this podium. We are. Um. Yeah, we're ready. Is the lighting good? Okay, okay. Well, welcome back to church, everyone. Welcome back or welcome to church. Yeah, so you're going to clap because that's your cue. There you go. There you go. No, but yeah, welcome back. So I know we took like a little bit of a pause, but for the fruits of the spirit last week, and then we went over obviously a more dark topic, uh, but we're gonna reel it back in, and we're doing part two of the fruits of the spirit. Today we're gonna go over self control, which I think really ties in with patience, which we did 2 weeks ago. Um, and I mean, to have self control, you have to have patience, right? Like those go hand in hand. But I felt like there was a lot of information on both, so I couldn't really put into like one message. But today we're gonna do self control. Um, we live in a world that encourages indulgence, and it's extremely easy to lose control over ourselves and give in to temptation or anger or whatever it may be, right? People will tell you, oh, just do what feels good or treat yourself. But sometimes, if not most of the time, what feels good is not what we should be doing. It's not the right thing that we should be doing. What? Did I look at you? Yeah, you totally did. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, mom. What feels good sometimes is not what we should be doing. No, but you know, like for example, let's say you are in the store and you know you have broccoli in your hand, and I did talk with this with my Uncle Dave. Shout out to Uncle Dave. But um, you know, let's say you have broccoli in your hand and you happen to be down the cookie aisle because Louis insists, oh, let's go to the cookie aisle, why not? Let's go just check it out, and you happen to pass by some Oreos, and there might be the double stuff, more stuff, most stuff, whatever it is. Post Malone Oreos, those were good too, man. Oopsies. But anyway, let's say you got the healthy item in your hand, right? And let me give you an example of what not to do in that moment. Just because I wanted these Oreos doesn't mean that I should have been like boom and boom. It doesn't mean I should have grabbed the Oreos and put the broccoli in place. I should have at least kept the broccoli. Yeah, it would have outweighed it.
You better hope Walmart doesn't get up.
I plead the fifth on that one. But that was not a good example of what to do when faced with that level of temptation, where it's like, not gonna lie, these Star Wars Oreos, for example, I'm not gonna lie, I think I bought 6 packs of those.
And they don't taste any different.
They don't taste any different. It's just one has red 40 and the other one has blue 30 or something like that.
Star Wars.
Like, it just has cool Star Wars little characters, and they literally give you less Oreos. I mean, you would look at it and you'd be like, these cost more than normal Oreos, and they give you less. I'm sold. I'll take it. I'll take it. God, give me 5 more of them right now. So that may have been a thing. And Mom, you weren't the best with that either. Remember, you'd buy them too, and I would look at them. I'd be like, I have to get the light side ones. And we went through like 5 packs before I finally got the. I mean, it was gonna get to the point where I was about to start opening it right there, bro. Like, damn it, or dang it. Oh man, actually, damn isn't a bad word, right?
And also, you keep admitting to Walmart what you're doing.
No, but I didn't actually do that. That was in a thought process in my head.
Okay.
I wouldn't actually. And if I were opening them, I'd buy them. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like with the CMF Legos. If I do open them in the store, I'm still gonna buy it. Yeah.
You just want to see what it is.
Yeah. Sorry, this is ADHD again. Haven't even got past the first paragraph. Wow. But my whole point is those Oreos. Wait, why am I on the topic? I was saying about the whole point is those Oreos were really good. No, those Oreos, right? it wasn't a good idea. And I'm still reaping, what I sow with that. Gosh, I still have dreams about those Oreos though. They were cool. But you know what I mean? Like, I had this healthy item, and what did I do? I said, you know what? These Oreos look too good. I gave into that temptation right there. That was a temptation where, the Lord was trying to see, hey man, how strong are you? And he realized I was weak in that moment. But so yeah, that's something that happened. What would have been the better response to do? The better response would have been, I look at those Oreos and I say, you know what? You don't control me. You don't have any authority over me. I don't care if you're Post Malone Oreos, or if you're Star Wars Oreos, or if you're the more stuff Oreos. I don't know how I know so many Oreos. I don't understand because I genuinely haven't had Oreos in months now. But I don't know what's going on. It's like, dude, it is like I have a photographic memory for food, and maybe that's my issue. But yeah, so sorry, church. You get my point though, right? Hopefully. Like, what I should have done was walked past those, right? Because real strength is found not in giving in, but found in the opposite. It's found in the self control, holding back when it seems impossible to, like those Oreos. It's about, it's about, sorry, it's not about reacting, but rather responding with discipline. Self control is not about being perfect, but being surrendered, like relying not on your own strength, but the strength of the Holy Spirit to get you through that. Because I relied on my own strength and I picked up the Oreos and I dropped the broccoli. I didn't even bring it with me. Those things weren't going. As soon as I saw those Oreos, I beeline for the checkout. I mean, you would have thought I was a Formula One racer out there. I got there quick. Like, it was insane, dog. I just apparently I really wanted them. I don't know. It was a few months ago, right? Sorry, don't bully me. Anyway, um, but had I have not gave in to my my thoughts and the temptation, I would have made a better choice that day, and probably would have caused me to make a better choice the next day because I'm pretty sure I went 3 days in a row to get Oreos. But you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna stop talking about Oreos now. I'm sorry, but I promise you, that's the last time I'm talking about Oreos. I just had to mention that one. But like, I would have made a better decision had I have been more surrendered. Had I have not had like so much control over my mind and been like, yeah, I need that, I need that. But I would have been better had I have just not gave in to that temptation. Um, what is self control? It is the ability to govern or control or direct your emotions, desires, and behaviors in the face of temptation and impulses. It's about finding that inner strength in you, right? I have a few examples in the Bible. Joseph, again, I think honestly we might talk about him like every service. I'm sorry. Um but he had self-control, but he's such a good uh guy. He's just such a good representation. I mean, I say he's such a good guy like I knew him, but I mean, I wasn't living that many years ago, so I didn't know him, but he seems like a good guy, right? Joseph, he had self control and temptation. What happened to him? Well, Potiphar's wife tried to seduce him. I almost said Sudoku for some reason. Tried to seduce him, but he didn't give into it. He fled, like I should have done with those Oreos. He fled. He didn't even look at her. He was like, what the heck? Boom, out of frame. I'm preaching from over here now the rest of the time. You guys aren't going to see me anymore. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I need my notes. Sorry. But he fled. My point is he ran. I'm not going to be running because that's not pretty. But he ran. He ran from that temptation and from the immorality, right? He ran from it. He didn't even look. He didn't take a second guess. Nothing. Boom. Got out of there quick. He didn't give in to that temptation when he very well could have. He's human, same as all of us, and like he'd go through the same temptations as us. And rather than giving into it, taking the easy route, he fled, ran from it. rather than giving into the flesh and those earthly desires, he chose to honor God in his decision. Self control is doing what is right even when no one is watching. I mean, in that moment, it was just Joseph and Potiphar's wife, and we know this because he's later thrown into jail because he's falsely accused. Free my boy. But basically, it's self control. Like I said, is doing right when no one is watching. When you're completely alone and you're thinking, okay, if I go ahead and take this piece of pizza right here, my mom, there's no way she'll notice, right? She's not down here. She won't notice in the morning. And realizing how dumb that was because she knew how much pizza she had in the fridge, but you still did it because you were freaking hungry. But yeah. Anyway, self control is doing what is right even when no one is watching. I feel like I'm exposing myself a lot. I heard music. I know, dude. I'm like, it's like a squirrel. Hold on. Okay. I need to be medicated, I think, guys. I need to be medicated, church. Um, David, he showed self control. What? David showed self control? No way. He did in certain situations. Obviously, in we know the big situation where he did not show self control, but he showed self control when he had many chances to kill Saul. Even after Saul had wronged him, David didn't seek revenge when even though that was the easy decision. The easy decision to make would be to seek revenge and to get back at Saul, who was making everything harder for David. Self control, wow, good job. Self control is restraint, even when we feel justified to act. So, what does that mean, right? Well, it means you might get a little angry and you feel like, you know what, I am justified to act. I am justified to this person, man, they've been doing all these bad things. I am justified to act. But we shouldn't try to seek revenge on people. We gotta hold back. We gotta hold that restraint. We gotta have that self control. Be the bigger person, and rather than maybe coming at them with violence and just trying to punch your way out of it. Although I've like I'm not gonna lie, like there has been a lot of times lately where I'm like, I just want to honestly get into like a UFC gym so I can learn how to fight because apparently I want to fight people, but you know that's not the right decision. That's a dumb decision just because I'd be angry at someone and things like that because that was at the forefront of it. Now, if I'm learning UFC for like self defense, it's something different, right? But yeah, you're right because it kind of is more about attacking, making your body a weapon. Yeah, but that would be cool. I mean, unless like if someone pulls like let's say you're about to fight like five people and they just all got guns, you're done. Sorry, yeah, you keep getting me off on these tangents. Okay, but like I said, self control is restraint even when we feel justified to act. It's not it's about taking that second and thinking to yourself, should I respond like this or do I need to take a step back and think, how can I respond better? How can I respond in a way where I'm helping the situation out rather than kind of just feeling that fire. Jesus had self control during his suffering. Jesus could have called down angels at any point and he could have saved himself. He literally, at any point, he could have been like, boom, like a Thanos snap, boom, you're all dead. Like that. Like at any point, he could have called the angels down and he could have saved himself. And I mean, I'm sure there was moments where he probably wanted to. I mean, you saw like he was sweating blood before going into all this, the arrest and the crucifixion, because he knew what had to be done and he knew what was going to happen. But he was sweating blood because of how intensely he was thinking about it and how much it was affecting him. Like I said, at any point he could have chose to save himself, but he chose to fulfill the Father's will. He was mocked, beaten, and crucified, yet he didn't lash out. He stayed silent and reserved throughout. True strength is seen in how we handle pressure and pain. I can speak for the pressure part for sure. Like, how are you handling that pressure? Are you giving into it? Are you crumbling under that pressure, or are you learning to grow from it, to lift up whatever is compressing you? You know, like I said, like Jesus, honestly, perfect example of self control. Because in that moment, with all that pain that he was going through, he could have very well had just everybody who was crucifying him be killed. He could have saved himself, but he chose to not do it. Why? Because he had self control, and to have self control in a situation like that is like unheard of. Like I don't, I know if I were in his place, I wouldn't be able to do that. And I think it just shows how strong Jesus really was. Nehemiah had self control and leadership. He was angry when he heard that the wealthy Jews were opposing the poor. Instead of acting rashly, he thought about it and thought about his response before responding. He processed his anger and corrected his response with clarity and with leadership. Anger isn't necessarily sinful because like there is a way to express righteous anger, but anger must be managed. You got to make sure you have that motion in check because anger could lead. I mean, it could be the lighter fluid to a fire very quickly, and it could lead to some of the worst moments. And that's why you have to have control over it and realize. And that's honestly all about what discipline really is. It's like when your child would do something wrong, and whether it be they cursed and they're getting their mouth washed out with soap, or they're trying to stick a freaking finger in an outlet or a fork or something, and you just go real quick and you just go no. Like, you're not being angry at them in like a bad way by slapping them or whatever, or by punishing them, but you're correcting them, you're responding in a way that's leading them rather than being angry, and instead of being like, hey, what are you, you're an idiot, don't do that. Like, rather than doing that, you're correcting them and having that self control in that moment. Because I know, like, you know, for example, Brooke tried to put a knife in a toaster, which, I mean, that could have ended up very, very badly. And it's easy in that situation to just be like, to yell and to be like, no, like, and to be angry because of it. But, you know, it was better in that situation to be like, Brooke, like, this literally could be very bad. Like, you could genuinely die from this. You could get electrocuted badly. Like, you got to be more careful, right? Be more, think about your response and learn how to respond correctly in a way that's leading to growth. Um, Abigail had self control in a crisis. Her husband had insulted David and then prepared to attack. Oh, sorry. Wow. Her husband assaulted David, who then prepared to attack. My bad. Abigail calmly and wisely intervened, bringing peace. She didn't panic or escalate the situation. She didn't feed the fire, but she used discernment and gentle words to de-escalate the situation. Self-control includes knowing when and how to use your words and speak wisely during intense or heated situations. Right? Like, if you're in like an argument or whatever, and that there's one thing. I know I always would argue with Louis and Anthony and stuff, but like, there's one thing you could say that would just piss them off. Like, you knew the one thing that would get under their skin. But it's about having that restraint in that moment to rather than escalate the situation, again, feed the fire. Rather, you hold back. You have that self control to realize, I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't be that rude to them. Louis and Anthony did not follow that, by the way. uh, Stephen or Stephen, I don't know how to, like, I don't know if it's Stephen or Stephen. I think it's Stephen. Had self control in persecution. He was the first martyr, and while being stoned to death, he didn't curse or condemn them, but rather he prayed and forgave them. His final words were, Lord, do not hold this sin against them. Self control is seen most clearly in moments of extreme injustice, when you're, you know, when everything is stacked up against you and it's so easy to let go. And I'm like this guy Stephen literally faced in death, and he could have been just cursing them out and being like, bleep you, bleep, bleep this, you know. If we want to hear what those words are without the bleep, I'll bring Louis up here. He's good
I'm
at
not
that.
that guy anymore.
He's apparently not that guy anymore. But he could have said all these things to them. But what did he do? He showed strength actually in praying for them and just saying, Lord, just don't hold this against them. I mean, as he's getting a brutal death, like stoning. Stoning is not like it's not painless. It's not easy to go through. I mean, I've never gone through it, but you know what I'm saying? Like I imagine it probably hurts. We do have a rock bed out here. I could try it out if you guys would like me to. With that being said, this is my final message. No, just kidding. But yeah, like I'm sure it's it hurts a lot and probably was hard to have that self control. But in that moment, he didn't say these awful words or anything, but he had that self control again, even when faced with something that's terrible, to just be like, you know what, don't hold this against them. Moses had self control under pressure. His siblings, Aaron and Miriam, criticized him unfairly. Moses didn't lash out, he remained humble. Moses was known as a composed individual in the Bible, and so he was known to be kind of more quiet and stuff, right? When you're wrongly accused or misunderstood, self-control says, "Let God defend me." He could have let anger win, but he chose to be silent and choose his battles carefully and wisely, and realize, you know what? Even though they're making fun of me and teasing me and mocking me, and just all these bad things that they're doing, which again I go through with Louis basically, like just teasing and mocking and hitting my car. But like all these things that that he was going through, and again he could have really easily just boom lashed out on them and called them all these names, but he was like, this is let me choose my battles wisely. This isn't something I want to fight. Like, this isn't something that I want to waste my time and my energy with. Finally, for our last example, we have Jesus again. As he was crucified, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. In unimaginable pain and suffering, he didn't retaliate, but rather he interceded on their behalf. He chose forgiveness over revenge. He chose right then and there to a similar response to Stephen, to just be like, forgive them. They know not what they do. Father, forgive them. Don't hold this against them. Forgive them. And it just shows again like that self-control that Jesus had in that moment, to be so forgiving again in a state of unimaginable pain. He didn't have any painkillers or anything like that, and just because he was Jesus doesn't mean that he was like Superman down here. It doesn't mean that like or it doesn't mean that he couldn't feel this pain. Like he felt every bit of it, every single bit of it. And still, when faced with that pain, he chose forgiveness over revenge, which shows self-control. Self-control is hard to express in a world full of temptation and instant gratification, right? We got social media, we got pornography, we got food, spending. It's very easy to give into those impulses and lose control. We need to first be filled with the Holy Spirit. Self control isn't about trying harder, it's about surrendering more. To have self control, you need to renew your mind. It starts with how you think, right? Your thoughts, they will shape your actions. Strengthen your mind and your ability to discern between what you want and what you need. Practice spiritual discipline, pray, study the word, hold yourself accountable. Every small no will strengthen your spiritual muscles. Had I have just said no to that Oreo, I would have been Oreoless, but it would have been better in the long run. Or had I have just said no to, for example, like gaming or whatever, like if I would have just said no and instead spend time, with the Lord, maybe it would have been a more productive thing to do with my day or night, whatever it would be, to just realize, all this talk about how I don't have enough time for God, but here I am literally basically spitting in his face by just doing something when literally I could have just spent like an hour, in the Word with him and felt better just to at least know that I'm giving him some of my day. Set boundaries. Guard your heart. If there are things that you know you shouldn't be looking at, then block it and set that boundary. Be proactive. Don't wait for temptation to show up, but plan ahead for it. Remember the reward. Self control isn't about restrictions, it's about living for a greater reward. In relationships, well, ugh. Sorry, I had to reset now. In relationships, and as Louis mocks me, man, mods ban this guy. In relationships, don't let anger or emotion control your tongue. And I know it's easy to, you know, and I can do a whole message on the fact that like our words can do so much. Like our tongue is like a rotor or whatever it's called, a rudder on like a ship. Rotor. Wow. Good job. We're gonna have to cut that. We're gonna have to cut that part out. A rudder on a ship. Okay, Louis, enough. A rudder on this ship. I need a gavel up here so I can go order in court. It's like a rudder on a ship though. Like it steers the ship, right? Like it'll steer which way you're going, and that's what our tongue is like. Like it'll steer where we're going. It'll steer our actions, right? Our like it's very important. Very important. um in finances, have the self-control to save your money and hold off on making impulsive purchases. Like just because, you want this new Lego set, the Lego Batman Arkham Asylum, stupid podium, stop. I'm gonna have to stop touching this podium. Just because you want the new Lego Arkham Asylum, you know, doesn't mean that you should have it. Even though it looks really, really cool, but be smart in that and make a better spending decision because in the long run it's better if I maybe don't spend the $300+ on a set and maybe instead save it or put it into something else better. Even though I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna fail with that. I probably will buy that Lego set. Sorry. Or let's say, for example, you want a new shoe or a new skin in a game. It doesn't mean that you should get it. You got to separate your wants from your needs. That's a big thing with self control. Like separate what you want with what you need, and recognize that sometimes, most of the time, really, your needs like you should be focusing more on your needs than your wants, and realize that most of the time those don't line up. Like again, Oreos, broccoli. You know what I'm saying? Oreos, broccoli. I'm choosing Oreos. But also have self-control and purity. Don't feed your flesh. Flee from those youthful lusts. Have the self-control to not look at something inappropriate just because everyone else does, right? Like don't justify the lust. Don't be like, "Oh, well, my friend, he looks at this stuff all the time and he does this like 5 times a day or whatever. It's not bad, right? I'm just doing it once." Like, no. No. Don't justify that. Please don't. Um sorry. Have control over your time. Don't waste it, but redeem it. And in conflict, don't retaliate or try to get revenge, but respond with grace. Be slow to anger and have the control over yourself, even in the moments where you feel you're in the right, which my mom is never in the right. See, I was testing her self control right there because I literally was ready to run because I thought she was about to hit me when I said that. But she has self control. She's a good example of that. A life without yeah, she's not. A life without self-control leads to chaos. A life with self-control builds character, credibility, and closeness with God. You can't always control what happens around you, right? Like you can't control what happens around you, and I know it sucks, but you can't. But with the Holy Spirit, what can you control? You can control what happens inside you and how you respond and how you restrain yourself. And that's what's really important. It's how you respond to these situations that you can't control, to this chaos, you know, like on a Friday night rush when you should be the calmest one because you're the manager and you end up just completely falling apart because you don't know how to do X. But we're gonna have to cut this part out. I'm not gonna. Mom, no, I'm just kidding. But but yeah, no, you know what I mean. Like it's about having that self control, having that restraint over yourself, and again, rather than controlling you and trying to control yourself more, also remember that it's about surrendering yourself more to the Lord and realizing, because the Lord, he will steer your path and he will steer you correctly, right? With him, you'll have that self-control. With him, that's where the self-control will thrive. So I encourage y'all to just, again, like I said, spend time with him, renew your mind, renew your thoughts. I mean, I'm telling you, be like Joseph. If there's something bad on your phone, and you're looking at it, and you know that this is gonna lead to lust, is gonna lead to me doing something I'm gonna regret. Man, throw your phone, block the person, block whatever it is, or like even if it's like bad, like just pray in that moment. Try to look up like a verse or whatever you can do, because I understand like how easy it is to give into that stuff and lust and food and spending money on dumb things. Like I understand. So just have that self control. I encourage y'all, have that self control. Learn rather you know than responding quickly. Learn to take a step back. Realize what's the correct way I should respond, and separate you know your wants and separate your needs. These are
Oreos from your broccoli.
Separate your Oreos from your broccoli. Realize that as good as these are, it's not a good decision in the long run. As good as buying this Lego set sounds, you're going to regret it and have a bunch of credit card debt. Not me. But, like I said, as good as it sounds, make sure you have that line drawn in between the wants and the needs, and realize that sometimes it is good to give into the wants, but most of the time we should be giving into the needs and realizing what this looks like. And I promise you, growing with God and having him at the forefront of that will help you tremendously in making sure you're getting just need. So that's the you want me to close in prayer? That's the message for today. Bow your head, close your eyes. I'm gonna close this in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for bringing us here all together to be here in community, whether we're online, whether we're in this room. um, Thank you for that, Lord. I want to ask that you'll please be with us as we go throughout our weeks. I know there's situations where it's hard to show self-control, and it's hard to keep our emotions in check, and it's hard to not give into these temptations. But Lord, with you, we know that anything is possible. With you, I mean, you can move mountains. With you, we know that anything is possible. And with you, we have the strength to get through something that seems impossible, that seems like there's no way that you could not give into this, Lord. I want to ask that you'll help us as we go throughout, the rest of our weeks and lives, really, to just have more self control. So if it's in a situation of anger, to take that step back, to respond wisely and carefully, not out of bad anger, but out of righteous anger, out of the anger that is leading to growth, Lord. I want to ask that if it's self control in our eating habits, Lord, that you will please help us to make better decisions and recognize that, again, as much as we want this thing, we have to go with our need, and we have to realize that it's a better decision in the long run if I choose this. If it's something in finances, the same thing, really. Like, help us to make better decisions in there and help us to have self control over spending impulses. And Lord, if it's something with lust, help us to have that self control over that and realize that this lust, it doesn't control us, it doesn't steer us, Lord, but rather you do. And we have to realize and want you. We have to realize that, this lust or these spending habits or, these food habits, whatever it is, that these things, they don't control us. They don't own us. They don't have this seniority over us, Lord. Help us to climb above those wants and recognize, how to find that self-control in ourselves. Help us to, just uh, be renewed this week. Help us to have you, you know, like included in every day and every day as we go throughout. Again, it's easy to show up to church on one day, but it's hard the other six. So help us to just include you in our daily routines, Lord, going forward. And yeah, just help us to have the self-control and patience to handle situations that seem impossible, Lord, because we know with these many examples that we've brought up today that with you, anything is possible. So, Lord, thank you again for everything. Thank you for bringing us here. Um, and yeah, I just want to say thank you and help me also to make better decisions and not buy Oreos. And just I pray, amen.
Amen. Stay there.
No, we gotta cut that. I didn't catch the.
Okay,
I didn't
okay.
catch the.
That was
Give it back.
No,
I'll do it again.
we gotta. Okay,
that was
take number 2. I can't
Back
believe
to
that.
podium.
Hold on. I got to look cool doing it.
yeah.
Here, I got you. I'm gonna use like the force.